Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, you made it. The weekend is here. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you're watching our show, when and where. We're live every day, Monday through Friday, across Facebook and YouTube. Spell out our YouTube channel, John Martin Talks. But we're also broadcast late night on America's Voice News and through their network. Download the free app on your Android, your iPhone. They have Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick, Channel 219 Dish Network, and the Pluto streaming channel. You can find us there. So we are expanding all the time. But we got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about the dueling town halls, if you will. Trump and Biden kind of faced off last night, one on NBC and one on ABC. They faced off, well, sort of, and we'll explain if you didn't see it. And then I'm going to talk about a story that I started to get to yesterday but ran out of time, and that is the Biden campaign strategy of essentially running out the clock. They're basically, if you're a basketball fan, they're playing the old North Carolina four corners defense and just trying to run the clock out. But I got to always mention our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. We're live here in the BDU studios. Grateful to be here. They're the main sponsor of our show. And if you want to get to them and help us and help yourself, check out the show description no matter where you're watching it, whether it's on Pluto or on Facebook or our YouTube channel. As I say, spell it out, John Martin Talks. No matter where you're watching or when you're watching, there will be a description of our show above the video. Scroll down on that description. You'll see our sponsorship link for 99 cents for the 1 month free trial, but virtually free, because if you can't afford 99 cents, then, call me. Maybe I can make it free for you. But, and then $10 a month thereafter. What you get is factory direct pricing on all items related to the Second Amendment. Yes, all items, guns, ammunition, tactical gear, swag, all kind of stuff. Anything that has to do with the Second Amendment, virtually from every manufacturer out there, factory direct pricing delivered at your door. Check it out, Big Daddy Unlimited. All right, before we get into the meat of the show, I got to tell you a little bit about an event that I attended last night. I mentioned it a couple times over the last few days on our show. We had when I say we, the Alachua County Republican Party, which is the county I live in, we had our annual fundraising dinner. It's called Ronald Reagan Black Tie and Blue Jeans. It's a pretty cool event. And we were very worried that we weren't going to be able to have it with all the COVID restrictions. And we also were worried that if we did have it, would people show up? I can't list all the names of the people that made it possible, but let me just tell you, we had a great committee. I played a very small role on it, mostly just helping tear the place back down once we got everything set up. But man, do our Republicans here locally deserve a tremendous amount of praise. In spite of all the challenges of COVID, they put on an event that had over 500 people actually attend. That's a big arena, so we were socially distanced. We did all the compliance, so don't freak out about that. But we saw not only our local political figures, but we had two terrific guest speakers, and I'll talk about them in a minute. One of them was Larry Elder, and the other was Katie Hopkins. And I'll start with Katie. She was kind of, when I say the second billing, I don't mean to take away from her at all, man. She was on fire and wearing this bright red dress. And if you don't know Katie Hopkins, you really need to get to know her. Basically, she is from across the pond. She is a UKer, and she talked a little bit about what was happening over there with Brexit and everything else. She's a big proponent of Brexit, but she is a passionate Trump fan and supporter. And she's been here basically for this whole year, literally, campaigning for Donald Trump, because she made the case, and rightfully so, that without Donald Trump, not only is America going to suffer, but the world is going to suffer. And certainly her vision for the United Kingdom is going to suffer. And she wanted to assure us that the Trump movement, the MAGA movement, the passion behind Mr. Trump is real. And she is seeing it firsthand. And I'll just tell you one quick story she talked about that I think kind of sums up a lot of how we feel out here in United States of America. She talked about the Second Amendment. She said that she loves our Second Amendment. She said that she can't defend herself legally in her home country except with her mouth, which is why it was so big. She was very vocal. But she talked about meeting a woman out in Portland, Oregon, of all places, that was a Trump supporter, a passionate conservative, had a very large family, a husband, everything, lived out on some property. And she talked about how she was not afraid, but that she was worried about this violence spreading out into the suburbs and into the rural areas. And she told Ms. Hopkins she wanted to make it very clear that if you come for us, understand that I am a Second Amendment. She said something about, that her license tag, her bumper sticker says, guns don't kill, but I'm willing to. But she warned people that if you come on my property, be prepared that you're not going to leave. And so I thought that was very interesting. But check her out, Katie Hopkins. She's an amazing lady. But the keynote speaker, Larry Elder, I thought I knew Larry Elder, but until I got to hear him for basically about 45 minutes to an hour, I didn't know Larry Elder. And I got to start watching some of his YouTube videos. Check ours out too, by the way. John Martin Talks, spell it out. But Larry, kind of is famous now for the snippets that he's on Hannity's show. And he does a great job on there, but they don't do justice to the complexity that is Larry Elder. And he told a lot about his personal story and how he got to be, how he rose up, and got to be the man that he is today. And it was just amazing. He told this story about his dad. I don't have time to do it justice, but the one thing he did say that I will mention is he talked about some of the lessons he learned there, that hard work wins was the way to look at it, and that his dad said to him that, you're going to have trials and tribulations in life. Stuff's going to happen, and that kind of thing. So don't think they're not, but how you deal with it is going to tell whether we, talking about his parents, raised a man or not, is how you deal with it. But Larry Elder, man, what a great spokesman he is for our cause. And essentially, he talked about how the whole racist issue is being blown out of proportion. By the way, we had probably a record number, if you want to get into numbers, of black Americans at our event last night. There are black people that are waking up and being conservative, and there always has been. Larry Elder's a great example of that, but they're not living in fear of showing their support for Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And so all of that was amazing. But man, if you haven't listened, I'll say this and I'll move on. If you haven't listened to Larry Elder's videos, you probably ought to. And he said he's going to watch my show. So if you're watching it this morning, Larry, I know you were up late last night. Good morning. How you doing? But the bottom line he told us, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to get out. We need to rise up. We need to vote. We need to bring our friends, our neighbors, everybody possible to the polls. And he believed Donald Trump is going to win. The main message last night was for people who are all, because you got to assume, we had our vice chair of the state Republican Party, Christian Ziegler, a great guy, and I know he watches the show. Good morning, Christian. But he talked about how, that he was preaching to the choir, literally, with the people there at the event, and that our charge, and I would pass that on to you, our listeners here, our charge is not simply to vote for Donald Trump. That's like the bare minimum. We got to bring people with us to the polls, so to speak. We got to encourage, we got to reach out. That's one of the things I try to do here on a daily basis, and I agree with it 100%. One piece of really good news that I kind of knew about but was made very clear last night was, and this is happening all over the nation, but Christian Ziegler, our vice chair of the state party, pointed out that where we are now, and so did Matt Gaetz, by the way, who made a special appearance. We wasn't expected Representative Matt Gaetz, man, I'm glad I thought about that. He was terrific as well. Got a chance to meet him. What an outstanding young representative we have in the state of Florida, and really nationally for that matter. But good news in Florida that back, just to give you a quick example of how hard the Republican Party is working here in Florida, and it's mainly volunteers like people like you listening, is that back when Bill Clinton won Florida in the 90s, that the number of Democrats outnumbered Republicans by over 500,000, almost 600,000, 570,000, something like that. And then by the time that Obama actually won Florida, that number had been trimmed down to by about 200,000 to like 300 and some thousand. But now, thanks to the continuous efforts of Republican volunteers, really, and the state party across the board, they have now shrunk that number to just a little above 100,000. So the number of Democrats only outnumber Republicans by 100,000. So Florida, if you're wondering why it went for Trump last time, it can definitely go again if we do our work. And this is happening all over the country. I know Pennsylvania has seen similar things. So our charge, and I feel really charged up after last night, a bit tired, but really charged up. If we support Donald Trump, if we're opposed to the progressive agenda, it's not enough for us to just vote. We need to bring others with her. We need to increase our ranks. Once again, kudos to everybody that made that possible, including, by the way, my producer, Gabe, who doesn't get a lot of credit. He produced the event, and I got to tell you, it was spotless. He did a great job. All right, on with the stories here. The first one we're going to talk about is kind of the dueling, if you want. It really wasn't debate, but dueling town halls. You know, last night was supposed to be the second debate, but Biden said he wouldn't do it unless it was virtual, and President Trump essentially said, well, I'm not letting you look at the teleprompter and getting fed the answers, so I'm not doing that. When if you think about it, after they showed both of them with no mask on stage, you know, across from a moderator with no mask, by the way, and we'll get more into that in a minute, there's no reason why Biden and Trump couldn't have had a regular debate last night, really. I mean, there's just no reason whatsoever, other than I think Biden wanted to take advantage of trying to have a virtual debate. All right, this is from the Washington Post. Takeaways from the dueling Trump and Biden town halls. So President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden held dueling town halls Thursday night, forums that took the place of the presidential debate originally scheduled for the same night, in which Trump pulled out of when it went to a virtual format. Now, I flipped back and forth. I taped it. Let me just say that. I taped it because I was at the event I was telling you about. But I got home and I would watch a little bit of Trump, and then I would click it over and watch a little bit of Biden. And man, was it evident from the very beginning that, and I'll get more into detail in it, but if you watched even 5 minutes of either one of those town halls last night, and if you hadn't, I would encourage you just to watch the first 5 minutes of both of them. And you'll see that the media bias against Trump is just over the top. It's just over the top. But the decision by the NBC to air the event at the same time as Biden previously scheduled one on ABC was a source of controversy. You know what's a source of controversy? And I just heard this coming in. I was listening to Breitbart radio on my satellite. I do every morning. I should give them some credit. I mainly listen to hear you, the American people, calling in, because it's been pretty amazing. But it came out last night. Now, I don't have proof of this. I'm just telling you what was reported by citizen reporters, so to speak, from around the country, that in some locations, including down in Miami, one caller came in, that the NBC local affiliate, which was carrying the Trump event, didn't show the Trump event. Now, I have a satellite feed, so I get the national feed, and I saw it. But there's multiple reports coming in, and I say I can't verify this, but that literally the Trump event was censored off of NBC local affiliates. If true, it rings true because it falls into a pattern that we've seen for the last several years, let alone the last couple of days. But I'd be curious, and of course, if it wasn't shown, this would affect it, which event had the higher ratings. I got to believe it was Trump, but I haven't looked into it. But that's kind of interesting. But the simultaneous events provided a pretty good window into the contrasting approaches as a debate would have, even if this was not side by side. It said, here are the takeaways. Well, let me give you the very first takeaway. Like I say, you would know this in the first 5 minutes, maybe the first 2 minutes, because Donald Trump was attacked by Savannah Guthrie from the moment it started. It literally started with, hey, how are you? Welcome, glad to have you. And, oh, you're a liar. I mean, I'm just telling you, that's how Savannah Guthrie, she is an attorney, by the way, I guess, before she was a TV personality. And she literally was prosecuting the case against Donald Trump. Now, it was supposed to be a town hall, which means we're supposed to mainly hear from voters, right? But she went for the first 20 minutes of that debate. It was nothing but Savannah Guthrie grilling Donald Trump. Now, the first 2 minutes of the Biden debate, which was George Stephanopoulos up there, they went straight to questions from the viewers, which I think were mostly Biden supporters. But it was softball from the get-go. There were a few times when Stephanopoulos actually asked a couple of follow-up questions, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But Biden it was clear that he wasn't going to be attacked by the moderator. And Trump basically, supposedly a town hall, it was really just an inquisition by Savannah Guthrie. You watch it and tell me where I'm wrong. Chime in on whatever Facebook or on YouTube you're listening to. I'll respond to you as quickly as possible. By the way, if you responded to our show yesterday, and quite a few people did, I haven't had a chance to respond to you because with the event and other things that we had last night, I just didn't have the time, but I will do it over the weekend, I promise you. Here's some of the takeaways. According to the Washington Post, Trump's smorgasbord of misinformation definitely called out in real time. So they're basically saying that Trump just puts out misinformation. NBC's Savannah Guthrie, and that's who I was telling you about, she attacked Trump. But here's the thing. You know what I've noticed about these interviewers? You can go to Chris Wallace on the interview he did, plus, of course, the debate where he basically Donald Trump was debating a couple of people at the same time. I've noticed that these people, not all of them, but in general, especially these ones from these networks like NBC and CNN and stuff like that, they look like they're literally trying to make a name for themselves by hammering President Trump. They don't seem that they're okay in being in the shadow, if there is such a thing, of Joe Biden. They're like, nursing him along. But Donald Trump, it's like they want to make a name for themselves by attacking him. And, maybe they're all interviewing for a job on CNN. That's certainly what Chris Wallace looks like every time. In the approximately 20 minutes before the town hall was turned over to the audience, I told you, Savannah Guthrie, and I'd forgotten it actually said this in the article, it was 20 minutes of grilling Trump before the town hall even took effect. Guthrie thoroughly grilled him. Yeah, I would say so, but I don't know that she won that. As Trump repeated false claims, now they don't give any evidence that the claims are false. They just announce it, right? About coronavirus outbreak, and he equivocated on things like QAnon and accepting the election results. No, he did not. He said flat out, I will accept the election results as long as they're fair. And he brought up something that he's brought up a couple times now, which is just absolutely true. He gets questioned about whether he will accept a peaceful transition, assuming that Biden is winning, which the media just wants you to believe that. But he brings up the point that he didn't get a peaceful transition. That the Obama administration, they may have put on an outward show that they were peacefully transitioned, but behind the scenes, we've now learned that they were trying to hammer then candidate Donald Trump, then President-elect Donald Trump. They were trying to hamstring his presidency, and pretty much did to a certain extent. It's amazing the more we know about what Donald Trump was up against, the more we realize just what a miracle it is how much he's actually gotten done. Like he says, I've done more in 47 months than Biden has done in 47 years. But Donald Trump rightfully brought out last night that he didn't experience any peaceful transition, but he said that he would if the election were fair unequivocally. So I don't know what they're talking about there. They want to keep these narratives going, man. Back to this, it says, Guthrie grills Trump like few have. Well, let me ask you, is that the purpose of a town hall? Now, I don't really have a problem necessarily with a moderator asking tough questions. I just wish they'd be fair about it and ask equally tough questions to Biden, which they obviously haven't, and I doubt they will. But a town hall is supposed to be basically the moderator takes the least role there is because the voters are supposed to be asking the questions. Now, the next debate, which I think is next week actually, which so far is on, is going to be, quote, a town hall format between Biden and Trump. Now, do you really believe the moderators are going to spend the first 20 minutes? I doubt it. I think they're probably going to just make it with the voters, but we'll see. But the purpose of a town hall is not what Savannah Guthrie did. It was all about her is what it was about, and trying to beat down the president. He did a great job of handling it, by the way. When Trump claimed that a study showed, this is one example, study showed 85% of people who wear masks still get coronavirus, Guthrie noted he falsely characterized the study. How so? I know a little bit about this study. What they showed was, and I think it was a CDC study, which is supposed to be the beginning and end all, right? They basically showed something like 71% of people in the study that said that they always wear a mask contracted coronavirus. Of the people, of the people that contracted coronavirus in the study, 71% of them said that they always wore a mask. And 14% of the people that contracted coronavirus said they often wear a mask. So when you get to the 85, you combine those two numbers, it's basically 85% of the people that caught coronavirus in this study wear masks. And that's all that President Trump was doing. So he was citing the correct information. So they're, anyway, they try to attack Donald Trump at everything. But it says Trump was clearly rattled by being so frequently and effectively questioned on his claims. You watch it. Watch the first 20 minutes. He wasn't rattled. Was he agitated maybe? Was he combative? Yeah, because he was under attack. And one thing, love him, hate him, or whatever, Donald Trump is not going to sit there and take it nicely. I believe he is a Christian man, but he don't practice turning the other cheek that much. If he does, he definitely says, okay, if I turn the other cheek and you hit me again, I'm going to hit you in both cheeks right now. He just defended himself. And one of the things that is really clear to me, because people criticize President Trump for his Twitter and all that kind of stuff, and Savannah got him on some of that stuff. But Donald Trump, if he didn't use things like Twitter, and another thing, people sometimes beat up on Trump because he's always blowing his own horn, so to speak. But the reality is, if he didn't do it, who would? I mean, people like me, yeah. You got to watch shows like JMT to see that Biden, for instance, admitted that he did more directly to interfere and abuse his power when he was vice president than everything Donald Trump was accused of in his impeachment. But you don't get that side of the story unless you listen to shows like John Martin Talks. That's why you got to like it, share it, spread it all the way. Look at our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, all that stuff, because we need your help. Not everybody can be a fighter, but everybody can support fighters like me and Billy Bob. If you're new to our show, first, howdy, how are you? You're in the right place. The truth starts now, as one of my buddies said. This is Billy Bob Bass. He's my psychic sidekick. Kind of keeps me straight. Yes, some of us are sicker than others. I'm a fish whisperer, make fishing great again, all that kind of stuff. He has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. But back to the article here. Plenty complained that NBC News was providing him, talking about President Trump, this forum opposite Biden's town hall, despite having pulled out of debate schedule for Trump on the same night. Well, he didn't really pull out. He said that he wasn't going to do a virtual one. Trump was ready to do a regular debate with Joe Biden in person. He didn't pull out of it. He pulled out of the changes that he didn't approve of the commission. And did you see, by the way, that the debate commission, the moderator that was supposed to do the debate that didn't happen last night, is now under suspicion of collusion? Yes, that word collusion with the Biden campaign. Check it out. I'm just telling you the facts. But it said plenty complained about NBC giving Donald Trump this free airtime. Free airtime. I mean, come on, man. Biden has been getting just free airtime all the time because, if you cover one of Biden's events, there's nothing to cover. Guthrie's almost literal cross-examination, she is a lawyer, it says here, by the way, of him should allay any fears that this would amount to a free platform for the president. Okay, yeah. A free platform. Joe Biden has been given a free platform the whole time. I mean, think about it. Trump has rallies where tens of thousands of people show up. He's having one today, by the way, in Ocala, Florida. You got to get there by like noon, so I'm not going to be able to make it. But President Trump he is going full bore. And so President Trump has these rallies where he's facing tens of thousands of people. Biden, first of all, doesn't even have a rally, and if he does, it's like a car hop. There are more people at like a Sonic drive-in than at his drive-in rallies. Biden had the steady showing he needed with the clock ticking down. This is what they're saying happened last night. We're going to talk about that clock ticking down in a minute. So I guess mission accomplished, right? That Biden didn't make any major faux pas because he wasn't asking any real questions. One thing that came out in the Biden town hall last night is that in this next debate, Donald Trump, and he got some criticism from the first debate, he's got to let Biden talk a little more because Biden is incoherent, man. He is just incoherent. The most coherent things he says are talking points about Donald Trump that he's rehearsed that have been fed to him, and they're all lies. And he doesn't get challenged on. President Trump will at least challenge him on that. But Biden, man, I told this to Larry Elder last night when I got a chance to talk to him briefly. I said, you talked about President Trump having one of the toughest jobs, if not the toughest job. And I said, I agree with you. Being president of the United States is a tough job. But let me tell you what the toughest job in America is. The toughest job in America is being the hearing impaired interpreter for Joe Biden. Can you imagine them up there trying to interpret all the mumbo jumbo he says? And then when they go did he really say that? Did he really say president? He's running for president or Senate? I mean, that to try to be the interpreter for Joe Biden has got to be the absolute toughest job there is, man. Biden didn't make any glaring mistakes, according to this article, that would jeopardize his position. How could he? They don't ask him any questions. Even with George Stephanopoulos asking tough follow-up questions. I tell you, he did ask him some. I'd say they were ginger questions, man. Questions up about his record on race, policing, and fracking, and more. Well, let me tell you one of the things that I heard last night, and I actually heard it again today on the Breitbart radio I was listening to coming in. I give credit where credit is due. That's one thing I do here. But Joe Biden was asked about the 1994 crime bill, and they didn't classify that, but they were talking about back in the day. Stephanopoulos asked this question, and he said, "Do you regret supporting the key word supporting that bill that put a lot of black people in prison for minor drug offenses for a long time?" And Biden said, "Yes, I regret it." And then he went on to say all kind of mumbo jumbo. But the reality, and this is where they're very subtle bias, Biden didn't support the crime bill. Biden wrote the crime bill. It was his bill. So he's the one that crafted it and wrote it. He probably stole it from somebody. That's what he does. But he wrote the dadgum bill. It's not a supporter of the bill. It is his bill. And we're going to play something that doesn't get near enough airtime. It's 2 or 3 minutes long. The total clip is longer, but I would encourage you to watch the whole clip. We're going to play Joe Biden supporting the crime bill that he wrote. And he is speaking when he is about as coherent as he possibly can be, because this is back in 1994, Joe. We're taking the adventure back to 1994. And here is Joe Biden. And if you are a black American, or if you care what happens in black America, neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, those kind of things, and I know I'm painting with a broad brush, but not as broad as Joe Biden, I want you to listen just how much Joe Biden cares about black children and the life they live in some of these neighborhoods. Check it out.
It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets.
Predators. Did you catch that? You can't hear that enough. That is Joe Biden, not the supporter of the crime bill, the author of the crime bill, telling you when it comes to your children, Black America, it don't matter what caused them to be delinquents. And he just assumes they are. It doesn't matter what caused them to be predators. It doesn't matter that you're not able to raise your children right. It's, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter. All that matters is locking them up and throwing away the key, baby. That is all that matters. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are the ticket of locking up Black people, period. Donald Trump has done more to right the wrongs of this crime bill than any president. Obama didn't do it. Mr. Trump did it. He is doing the prison reform that is allowing people that have these ridiculously long sentencing for nonviolent crimes that happened under Biden. It's whether you may disagree with the president, but he's the one that's doing it. It ain't Joe Biden and his. He didn't do it while he was vice president. He didn't say he regretted it while he was vice president, I don't think. He didn't say he regretted it while he was an elected official. He's saying it now to pander to Black Americans. I don't know if you're waking up to it or not. And something Larry Elder said last night that Biden barely touched on that crime bill, but he talked about, in a way, out of wedlock births. Elder made the case that out of wedlock births are the most damaging thing this country is facing. And he talked about how, and I'm trying to think of the senator from New York he mentioned, and the name escapes me, that wrote a book about this way back when. And he talked about, he was white and very liberal, Moynihan, Mr. Moynihan. Thank you, Billy Bob. He helped me out with that. Appreciate it. But Senator Patrick Moynihan, he wrote a book, and the name once again escapes me of the book, but he pointed out that that the worst thing facing Black America, and that we, if a society, would pay a steep price if we didn't address this, was the out of wedlock births. And I think at the time it was like 24% of Black Americans births out of wedlock, some in that figure. Now the number is like 70%, close to 80% of Black American youth are born in a single parent home. Now, I'm not saying you can't make it without that. Larry Elder actually said that's one of the great things that happened to him, is he had 2 parents. But Larry Elder pointed out that if Patrick Moynihan was true back when he wrote that book, that the actual number obviously went from like 24% up into the 70 percentile. But white Americans, that number now for white Americans out of wedlock birth is like 28%. So it's even higher than when Patrick Moynihan warned about the consequences. So, it's a big problem, and no one is talking about it. Joe Biden told you he don't even care. I take the man at his word. He was definitely coherent then. Biden opens the door further on court packing. This was an interesting exchange they had last night. Court packing, and says he'll confirm a stance soon. He said he literally said that he'd let his opinion be known by election day. And he did actually say you have a right to know, just not right now. And this is what he said about whether or not he would support packing the court. A couple things. And this is very interesting and a bit scary. He said it depends on how this turns out. He's talking about the SCOTUS nomination with Amy Coney Barrett. He said referring to Senate confirmation process for Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett. Given the GOP's control of the Senate, Barrett is on fast track to be confirmed. Absent something crazy, she's going to be confirmed. Remember Joe Biden said that I am the Democratic Party at the last actual debate he and Trump had? He said that he is the party. And I take him at his word for that. So he's saying, listen to this again, because I want to play a video from some Biden supporters. It says it depends whether or not he packs the court, depends on how this turns out. So which way it goes. So it's not about principle, it's which way the vote goes. So his packing the court is not a principle stand. It's a total political stand. So if you're wondering, keep in mind, Biden says, I am the Democrat Party. So I want to play this video. It's from Louisville, Kentucky. And when they didn't get the verdict that they wanted, the indictments they wanted, these Black Lives Matter people, which are Biden voters, right? The Black Lives Matter is giving money to the Democratic Party. They tell you specifically what they're going to do if they don't get their way. Check it out. Get it, burn it down. It may not be fair, but I think it's actually factual. Joe Biden is essentially saying the same thing, right? It depends on whether we get our way or not. So it's not about a constitutional principle. It's not about the separation of the three branches of government. It is about whether or not he, the Democratic Party, get their way. It's principle be damned. It don't mean anything. But he doubled down on this. Listen to what else he said in the show last night. Biden said it depends on how much they rush this. Talking about Amy Coney Barrett's nomination. He said, and I mean, this is already known. They are rushing it compared to some, not so much compared to others. But he said it depends on how much they rush this. He said, adding that if the nomination goes forward quickly, I am open to considering what happens from that point. So basically, he's saying it just matters what happens. It's not about principle. Donald Trump, when asked about this very thing and about whether or not it was going too fast and whether, he should have waited till after the election, he gave a terrific answer. He basically said that the Kavanaugh, because he talked about Mr. Garland, he said he respected, this was the one that Obama appointed but didn't get a Senate hearing. He said he actually respected him. But he said Kavanaugh changed everything. In other words, how Kavanaugh, and he went into detail about how the man was literally tried to destroy with a bunch of, pardon my words, trumped up charges. Mazie Hirono charges, Dianne Feinstein charge, thin air. Whoop, here we pull. We got one here. They're going to do the same thing with ballots, by the way. Here we got one. Here we reel it in. I mean, Donald Trump gave the right answer. Kavanaugh changed everything because it's not about the merits of the person. One thing about Miss Amy Coney Barrett, I'd be willing, and I don't mean this seriously, but this is a compliment to her. If we're going to change the court, why don't we drop the number to 1 and just have her up there? Because I tell you what, I'd take my chances with her alone deciding the constitutionality and the future of this government than I would with probably all the rest of them yahoos. And some of them I'm fans of. But this lady is impressive, man. One thing that has come out of these hearings is Donald Trump could not have appointed a more impressive justice. I wish she was the Chief Justice. But Amy just exposed him, man. And as far as media bias, man, all you got to do is watch these town hall. I mean, we know that the media is totally biased against President Trump. But if you ever doubted it, just watch, like I say, the first 5 minutes, let alone the first 20 minutes of both of these town hall meetings. You'll see that the way Donald Trump is treated compared to Joe Biden, there really is no comparison whatsoever. And think about this, ladies and gentlemen. And I know some of you will hate this, and some of us will love it. But when you think about Donald Trump and all the BS, I don't know how else to say it, that he has had to put up with from the mainstream media, from the progressive left that have, not only didn't have a transition, but have literally been trying to take him out, to impeach him since before he ever got sworn in. You look at that. When you look at the never Trumpers out there, the Republican establishment that care more about the swamp than they do you, the American people. It's just amazing that Donald Trump even polls at 1, has no one else. There is no one else. And some of you, this is the part some of you may hate because you don't like Donald Trump, but there's no one else that could have stood tall like Donald Trump has done. I mean, he literally, they joke about the Superman thing, but you tell me, who else could have put up with all that Donald Trump has had to put up and not only stand up, be still standing, but be able to accomplish anything? And he's accomplished more, as he says, in 47 months than Biden has in 47 years. We've never seen the likes of Donald Trump, and unfortunately, we may never see the likes of him again. That's why we need him at least for 4 more years, right? Team Biden, and I said at least, right? Ooh, there's a conspiracy for you. All right, let's move on. Let's check my time here. We're doing okay. We got a few minutes left. I want to get in this story about Biden running out the clock. This is from The Hill. Biden, I love this picture. This is one of the best memes out there, man. Biden Pinocchio mask. I put that on my Facebook. I had more comments on that than about anything. But they say, call it the don't touch strategy. Team Biden knows they're ahead against President Trump, with national polls showing Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden above the 50% mark. And with under 3 weeks to go until Election Day, the campaign has been doing just enough to keep things where they are as the clock ticks down to November 3rd. That's when we got to have that Trump rally, baby, November 3rd. But can you blame the Bidens for camp for wanting to hide him out to try to run the clock out? That is, it's a terrible strategy in a sense that if you could actually be elected doing that, I just can't believe it's going to happen. But I don't blame them for not putting Mr. Biden out there front and center. We played this the other day. We got to play it again, man. This is Joe Biden at a rally, if you want to call it that, in Toledo. Listen to the thunderous applause, but listen to what he says he's running. And at the very end of this video, listen to what he says, because I think this pretty much sums up the entire Biden campaign. But check it out.
Hello, Toledo. This feels like coming home. Well, I tell you what, it's all going to be done. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. So vote, vote. Which way am I going?
Can you blame him for not putting that? That dude is not ready for prime time, man. I laugh about it, but it's sad to think, one, that he's even running and that he has even a minute chance, let alone supposedly leading in the polls. America, if that's true, man, do you really hate Donald Trump that much that you're going to give it to a guy that literally don't know where he's going? And I know who's going. What scares me is not that he don't know where he's going, but who's going to tell him where to go. And it ain't going to be us, because we know where to tell him. Go back to the basement, Joe. But they're literally probably going to fix his basement up like the Oval Office and tell him he won and put him in there. And he'll think he's in a false, or Mission Impossible type thing. Remember that old TV show? Because Biden, man, it is scary. Which way do I go? He don't know. He absolutely doesn't know. But listen to this. This is what one Democratic strategist. Oh, no, let me move on down. We got a couple minutes left. I want to make this point. In recent weeks, Biden has been traveling more than he had earlier in the pandemic, which, is not hard to do, making short trips to key battleground states, as he did on Tuesday when he traveled to Florida. But his campaign has usually limited events to one speech a day. Joe Biden is only doing one speech a day. Here's a tip for you out there. If Joe Biden is so keen on the Green New Deal, which is on his platform, by the way, Think about the cabinet under Joe Biden. You know, the energy secretary be Ocasio-Cortez. Shifty Schiff be like the head of the CIA. This is what we're up against, by the way. Cuomo, the governor, being the attorney general. I mean, think about Biden's cabinet, man. It gets scary really, really quickly. I mean, what is it? Jerry Nadler being the White House chef. Everybody's going to swell. But think about this, the Green New Deal. You know how Biden could cut emissions overnight? If he stopped flying in private jets to meet 20 people. At least Donald Trump meets tens of thousands of people and millions more watch him on TV. It is absolutely crazy. But these speeches are largely the same, and his campaign has all but avoided long-range, sit-down national interviews where he could ask prickly questions. He don't want to get questioned. The media is allowing all of this to happen. And Billy Bob tells me that not only are they allowing it to happen, they're facilitating it to happen. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page. Like it, share it with others. Check out our YouTube channel, John Martin Talks. Remember America's Voice News Network. We're on there. If you want to watch Trump rallies, that's the place to go as well. And we usually put their broadcast along our Facebook networks. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for this great nation and Donald Trump. Remember our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Look at the top of the show link. Check it out. But above all else, like I say, each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.